Now then, guys, it's Phil. It's All Leeds TV, and we are back with another impromptu big match preview. Apologies if you have seen a tweet that said it was 9 o'clock. That's my fault. I just overestimated how long I was going to be shopping. But don't worry, we're here. So we've got me and Scott, and we're going to hopefully be getting a good half an hour, 45 minutes worth of pre-match content ahead of tomorrow night's game at home to West Ham United. Scott,
yes,
are you looking forward to tomorrow night? Did you enjoy the Newcastle game? The result, probably more than the game. But...
Yeah, exactly that. I enjoyed the result more. I know in the pre-match, the big game preview we've done with Chris, was very sort of optimistic. Well, we can win. And I still go, you know what, had we had a bit more quality and had the confidence that Newcastle currently have, we certainly could have walked away with something. Right now, a 0-0 draw is a fantastic result against a team that should have beat us 3 or 4.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to really argue against. I think people will complain about the performance, which, to be honest, it wasn't pretty. The City game wasn't pretty, but I came back from the World Cup expecting 0 points from these two games and to be trounced in both, which we weren't trounced in either. I mean, I know people will say like the XG did top up in both games and we could have been tonked, but we weren't. And you know, Marsh's sort of objective in the international break was to get the players together and sort out the leaky defence. I mean, 3 goals in 2 games, when you look at it in isolation, perhaps doesn't say that. But, you know, like you said last time, we were losing 7-4 to Man City last season. It was 3-1. There's only 2 goals in it. And then it's a clean sheet away at Newcastle, which pretty much nobody has done in about a year. So you got to kind of give credit where it's due and say... It's not been as bad as I expected, but I think most people would say tomorrow night's huge. Whatever has happened in these last 2 games, if we go and we win tomorrow night, they end up being good results, as daft as that may sound. But if we go and we lose tomorrow night, then they look like bad results. Do you think we should take a bit of confidence from the fact that we have held Newcastle to a goalless draw in their own backyard?
Oh yeah, 100%, 100%. Again, as we've said, and numerous people have said, you know, last season, you're getting battered 7-0 by Man City.
Yeah.
And then the turning point for Newcastle last season, many would argue, was them beating us 1-0 in January. And for us, it kind of started, like they started off, I think they were 19th. And that was the start of it. They started moving up the table. They started improving. They started getting confidence. We went the opposite direction. I honestly think a win tomorrow night sets us off for a good month. We're maybe not. We'll have to be realistic. We're not going to get that investment that Newcastle had anytime soon. We don't have the quality of players that some other clubs that we're competing with have.
Yeah.
You know, so do I think tomorrow night is important? I think tomorrow night is one of our must-win games.
Yeah.
And obviously, we'll go into that more as we get on if you want. Because you know me, I'll sit and yabber away here for ages.
Yeah. Don't worry. We've got a lot to get into. I like how you alluded to that. We have got a bit of a month now, 4-game run, I'd say. Well, you don't want to call them winnable fixtures, but they are games that you've got to sort of single out in comparison to the 2 that we've just had and go, we need to take something from these. And it's one of them where normally you would say West Ham are a team that I'd expect us to struggle against, and we seem to have struggled against them since we came back up from the Championship, although obviously got a win away at the London Stadium in January.
That's John, right? Yeah.
Weirdly enough, I mean, I do the pre-match blog and stuff, which is going out tomorrow, and just looking over the history of this fixture, like, we've actually tended to fare quite well against West Ham, especially at home and especially in the Premier League. David Moyes, not so much, but we've only ever beaten him in a league game once, and that was that game last season in January. But there's a bit of a narrative coming together here for me with West Ham in particular. If you've watched their game against Brentford, I've heard people say they're unlucky, including Marsh, which I don't think they were unlucky. I think they were comfortably beaten. They're on a run of what is it, like 4 or 5 games without a win.
Yeah,
There's a narrative building here that we could genuinely like be ending David Moyes' tenure at West Ham tomorrow night. If we put a comfortable win together and we actually, because they're in trouble, you know. I mean, their season, you can script it now. Sack David Moyes, bring in some generic English manager in his mid-40s that's going to, Sean Dyche, that's going to.
I was about to say, that sounds like Sean Dyche.
Yeah, just basically sack Moyes, bring in Dyche, stay up, build next season. But that's going to come together if we beat them tomorrow night. And it's one of them where that narrative's there. They're not the side they were last season challenging for Champions League. It is a very different looking game, and it's looking like a point that you do eye up and say we should be aiming to at least take a point, if not all 3 from this. So yeah, you should feel confident.
Well, one thing you touched on, I didn't want to say it.
Yeah.
Because I had said before the Leicester game where they beat us 2-0 but only had 1 shot.
Yeah.
I had said that if we beat them, Rodgers is done, he's gone.
Yeah.
And this is, I firmly believe if we beat West Ham tomorrow, I think that's the end of David Moyes.
Yeah.
I don't want to say that because it sounds weird. I actually think Moyes has done a decent job with West Ham. This season just doesn't seem to be working for them. But again, I just want to touch on as well. You said about when we came back up, we've struggled against West Ham. I am going to correct you on that.
You're not.
I am.
You're not.
They have beat us once from we've been back up. We have won 4 of the other fixtures and only drew once.
Against West Ham? In the Premier League?
Sorry, I'm looking at West Ham's. So, sorry, that's a lie. I'm looking at this. I'm on the West Ham page, not the Leeds page. That's why I'm going.
They've beaten us 3 times in the league, and once in the cup, and then we beat them in January.
Yes, you see what I said? Reverse that. That. Sorry, I apologize. I was sounding like I done research there, but I'm looking at the exact.
I genuinely have done research as well, which is
even worse. I look like such a muppet here, but yeah, the last time we played each other, we won.
We did, so, 3-2.
It was in January. So that's good.
Yeah, it was. So moving on.
Moving on swiftly from my absolute cock up.
So the press conferences that have been going out have been pretty short in general. So there's no real injury update apart from Sinistera, Bamford, Dallas. They all don't really have any sort of interesting time frame on their recoveries. They're not going to be back before the Cardiff game at the earliest, according to Marsh. So really, the squad is going to be the same squad. The lineup is obviously potentially different based on, he has done a bit of rotation at the minute. For anyone interested, obviously, we have confirmed the signing today of Max Weber from Salzburg. Whether we call him a left back, a left centre back, or just a centre back, I really don't give a shit. We've signed someone, it's great, whatever. But in terms of when can he play, he can't play tomorrow night. He is available to be selected for the game at Cardiff at the weekend. But yeah, Scott, what do you make of this new signing? It's another one from Salzburg. It's another, for me, nailing to the mast of we're not getting rid of Jesse Marsh anytime soon. We're investing in his players. This is his squad. And obviously, me and you spoke very briefly off air before we started about this could really start to indicate end of the season, perhaps sort of starting to shift more and more of those promotion winning players out the door and really turning this into a different squad.
Yeah. But something I've said for a while is that, and I said it as well when it was around the time that Marcelo was going. And again, I'd said after I got my Marcelo tattoo that I think it was time for him to go and let him go on a high. But I think it's time nostalgia must be thrown out the window.
Yeah.
We've been holding on to nostalgia from we have got promoted. Oh, these players have got credit in the bank. Oh, these players brought us to the dance. Right. The problem is that a lot of these players that brought us to the dance are no longer able to dance on the dance floor.
Most of them aren't able to walk, mate.
No, that's it. Do you know what I mean? These players are keeping, the only people that are keeping in a job really is Rob Price. You know, like an Indian. But it's sad but it's also,
yeah,
for me, it's a positive thing. They're going, right, these guys got us here. Thank you. We need to move on. We need to look at, again, I don't know anything about Max Verber. Don't know anything. Although I'm pleased to announce that the team I'm coaching, I've actually just got a message through that we've signed a new centre back, so I'm chuffed with that.
Is it Leeds United?
No. See, this wee lad, I tell you what, he'd be getting on over Cock and Cooper. So this is all just popping up, and I'm trying not to. But I think Ayling had a prime chance for me to stake a claim for starting the other night, and he just still, for me, showed his inconsistency. The constantly being dragged out of position, caught ball watching, Robin Koch and Liam Cooper constantly cleaning up, and Tyler Adams cleaning up after everyone. We would be lost without Tyler Adams this season. 100%. He's 10 times the player Calvin Phillips was for us. Maybe it's just because he shoots his system, and Jesse has faith in him. He understands what he should be doing. But I think, it is time. The old guard needs to change. And I honestly think the only player from the championship winning team that will be here next season will be Stuart Dallas.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them are good enough for this league, let alone us.
Yeah, it pains me to say it, and obviously, there is a bit of sentiment there, but I don't necessarily disagree with you. I do see the end of the road coming for quite a lot of them. I think some might stay, but have to accept that their role is going to start to be a more peripheral one. You can't imagine Liam Cooper being shoved out the door, can you, as club captain? But at the same time, having him around the place, perhaps as an influence on the younger players, but being restricted to a more reserve role to allow Verber himself, but obviously to get more minutes next season. But Forshaw and Ayling contracts up at the end of the season. It's hard. Yeah, I know my opinion and yours are slightly less extreme, but yours with Ayling in particular, just get rid of him now. I think with Ayling, I can see why people would say, character, keep him around. But for me, again, not quite as bad as you, but
I think I'm just sore that he kept getting game time over Jamie Shackleton last season. Jamie Shackleton, every time he was on, proved he was better. I honestly think that's what it is.
I think it speaks volumes that Shackleton's now probably not playing all that much at Millwall, and Ayling's not playing that much at Leeds, but who knows? But yeah, I think with Ayling and Forshaw, you'd struggle to make an argument that really giving them a 3-year, 4-year deal like they've just given Llorente, which is baffling anyway, would make
I don't understand that.
Giving Liam Cooper doesn't need new contracts, that's fine, but Harrison's deal runs out at the end of next season. You've got to talk basically this window about, does he go now or do you give him that fucking contract? Bamford, let's be honest, we don't know when he's going to play again, if he can ever get back to what he was. Clicky looks like he's going in this window.
He's going to DC United. It's all but done.
So realistically, that championship squad is starting to basically dissipate completely, and then you are sort of left with what have we got? And what can we move forward? And I agree, Dallas is one that I could definitely see still very much having a role to play. Definitely having a role to play in helping develop the kids that are coming through. But also, realistically, if you're looking at the weaknesses from this team so far this season, left back, I mean, I know he can't fill it up front. He probably would if you gave him half a chance. But left back, he would definitely have been getting in that position at some point this season if he was fit. And Pascal perhaps could have played more minutes at centre half. And, that's something that just provides another option in so many positions in a way that not many people do. But I want to get onto this, Scott, and perhaps you're the man to ask for this, because you really do believe a lot more in the Jesse Marshalling than most, I'd say, the average Leeds fan does. I'm going to stand by what I said at the start of the show, which was I'm not disappointed with the last 2 games at all.
Yeah.
I do think you can take them in isolation and just say, look, I don't like the whole sentence of look, it's City. What else can we do? But I do think until half time, literally 10 seconds before half time, I know we hadn't created much, but we had defended very well. If we could have held on to 0-0 at half time, that would have been good. We then managed to do that against Newcastle, and you can see what that did for the second half. It meant that we did it again in the second half. I know it's 1 point from 2 games. I know it's 3 goals conceded and whatever, but realistically, the passing is a little bit distasteful from the last 2 games. I can see why people would be upset about that, but this is a very different game tomorrow night. Like we said before, however tomorrow night goes is how we'll obviously move forward with either A, hope, or B, despair. But yeah, if we can go toe-to-toe with West Ham tomorrow, get 3 points and actually put on a performance like we have done against some of the bigger teams like Chelsea, Arsenal, Liverpool, the rest factor comes in as well. But I think if we can see something tomorrow night in terms of a performance, it would definitely go a long way, probably more so than a result in a weird way. And if we were to go out and dick them 4-0, but it felt like we played shit, whereas we snatch a 1-0 win, but we absolutely dominate the game, I think people would be more pleased with just dominating a fucking game. What is it in terms of style and that gives you hope in terms of tomorrow?
It's not the style of football that gives me hope for anything. And I think this whole, I don't want to sound like I'm attacking people's opinions because I'm actually not. I'm trying to explain the way I see it, is that we were spoilt in the Championship under Bielsa. We played sexy football, attractive, fast-paced, high-energy football against teams that were subpar to that particular tactic, but again, the no quality to battle it. First year back in the Premier League, we caught teams off guard. Fans weren't in the stands, so there's not that pressure and chance going on to the likes of Bamford, who is a confidence player, and every time he misses, he's not hearing it from the stands. It happened to a lot of players. Then fans are back in the stadium, and suddenly we start to dip. Then plan A that worked for 2-3 years didn't work because everyone knew, look, Bielsa doesn't do anything different. This team doesn't know anything different. So yes, we were playing, attacking, fast-paced, high-energy, exciting football, but we were getting hammered 5-4. We weren't scoring goals. So what I am hopeful about, where I am getting the optimism from for so many games, is that Jesse March has shown adaptability with his tactics. He has got more than one plan. That is my love of it, and that's where I get my hope and optimism. We've seen it against City, where we went with 3 in midfield and they were holding, and we got beat 3-1 against arguably one of the greatest teams in the world that haven't won the Champions League, but we stopped them getting out of third gear. You know, if they really ramp that up and we let them play, that's more than 7-0.
Yeah,
it is. And then against Newcastle, the team that is on form, they have got the best form in this league this season and the whole of 2022. They have lost 1 game. They're sitting in a Champions League position. Confidence is high. And we stopped them from scoring. The team they've got the highest XG in the league. And they couldn't score against us. But then you look at the other side, well, we couldn't score against them. But they've got one of the best defenses currently in the league, statistically. Confidence is a big, big factor. And you're going to pound me about me hitting stats there.
I didn't say a word.
I know, but like statistically, they're one of the best defenses in the league. Newcastle are one of the best teams in the league. And as someone watching Newcastle grow from the outside, I really am enjoying watching them giving these big 6 ball aches a headache and giving them a run for their money. It's just a shame it's dirty money they're getting, but it's money. They've investment. They've someone that wants them to do well. Can't begrudge them, and their supporters are brilliant as well. I have a lot of respect for Newcastle, so I want to see them do well. But more importantly, I want to see us do well.
Yeah.
And I think Jesse March is the man for now. it's obvious with the transfer targets, the transfer business, with the 49ers likely going to be becoming majority owners by the summer.
Yeah.
It's obvious Jesse March is going nowhere. So for people to constantly be banging on, oh, Marsh out, I don't get that at all.
Yeah.
But again,
Yeah,
it's that
I
adaptability
agree.
for every single team. He knows what's coming and he tries something different. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But at least he tries. He's not doing the same thing over and over and over again and getting the same pounding.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with. Look, it's like I've made it clear I'm not a fan of the style. I don't necessarily buy into it all. Look, it's clear he's going nowhere. They are trying their best to back him, and the way that I think if I was Jesse Marsh right now, I'd be looking at Arsenal and Mikel Arteta, and it was going horrendously badly for a good year under Arteta, and the fans weren't happy. They were doing their usual Arsenal fan TV whinging, and give him time, give him the money, give him back in, let him put his plan into place, and look how it's turned out. I'm not saying that's where we're going because I don't think it is,
Never know.
But that's the thing. It could either go from being that, or it could go to being Crystal Palace, who are just solid 13th every year, and that's kind of how I see us going. It's not necessarily what I want, but there are only 20 places in this division. 3 of them are for teams that won't be in it next year. 6 are basically unattainable for us for a very, very long time, probably 7 now. So you are basically fighting to be somewhere between, 14th and 8th to be able to have a somewhat mediocre season where you're not depressed the whole time. Anything just depressed the whole time. So, I mean,
some fans are sitting 4th or 5th in the league and they're always gurning. They're constantly challenging for Champions League and they're still gurning.
Premier League's full of miserable people. But here you go, Scott, someone backing you up with them stats. There you go. We scored the 11th highest number of goals in the league, which I do believe it. It is true. We have scored goals, but like Jesse Marsh has said, it's been keeping them out. I mean, this I'm just going to go back to in terms of Robbie saying, doesn't want to be negative, but it's the style and he wants to be proved wrong about there's something to look forward to and something to be hopeful for. But I think the answer is the previous comment, which, I mean, like I just said, I'm not sold on the style of football. I haven't enjoyed a lot of the games, but some of the games that I have enjoyed, and I'll try and give you one positive thing that you're after, Robbie, is up until the World Cup, I really didn't like the penis ball. Didn't like whether it was 4-2-2-2 or 4-2-3-1, but when we did play the occasional 4-3-3, especially the Arsenal game, I thought we looked brilliant. And thankfully, they've gone away. They've spent that World Cup break trying to integrate the system that made us look exciting. And that is what I asked for personally before the World Cup started. It seems to be what I've got. So far, we've had 2 games that are it's a small sample size, and it's hard to judge on what you actually got out of those 2 games. But like this comment says, 7 points from a possible 15, bearing in mind you've got games against Liverpool, Spurs, Newcastle and City in there. And, I mean, going into tomorrow night, if we were going in with, say, Tyler Adams was out, or we were missing a couple of crucial players, and we were going in with a shit system that I didn't believe in, then I would sort of be going into tomorrow night just sort of dreading it. But I've come back from the World Cup quite relaxed in terms of I knew kind of what I was going to get from the first 2 games, and I got somewhere, if not slightly more than what I expected from those. So I'm content. And a lot does hinge on tomorrow night for me in terms of I have to see that formation for a start. I have to see the right personnel for that formation against a team that we feel like we should be taking on. And I feel like tomorrow night's the first real opportunity to see that, because we didn't have Tyler Adams against Man City, and he's a huge part of what that formation's built around. Get the right players in it. We're going to come on to a lineup prediction very shortly, but get the players that are in form in. Get Willy Gnonto in there. Make sure Tyler Adams is in there. Meslier, obviously, with a bit of protection in front of him. Don't go throwing Firpo and Llorente in. I know you've got to rotate, but just sensible decisions, and when the game's in play, sensible substitutions as well. And if we can get all of those things right, then there's no reason to think that tomorrow isn't a game where, like Scott was saying, we just completely outplay West Ham and David Moyes gets sacked. But there is a lot of ifs and buts in there. I understand people are going to say you're asking for a lot. So I purposely minimized so I couldn't see the comments while I was saying that. But Yeah, I can see why people struggle to get behind it. I can see why people don't believe, but there are, whether you believe in stats or not, and there's another one here Steve sent in about XG. We do make chances. It's hard to say that from the last 2 games, but overall this season we have made chances, and it's been keeping them out that's the problem, which, going off the last game, you would argue, I know people will say the XG against us was high, but in the end we didn't let a goal in. We've got an incredible goalkeeper, and they are openly and quite clearly, vocally telling us they are working on the defence. So you've got to go into it with an open mind and see what you get. I mean, Scott, you're an eternal optimist, I'd say, but
so, most of the time, ask
yeah,
my wife, she'll say I'm a grumpy shite. Pardon my French. But no, I honestly think, see, if you look at the last 2 games, and if you look at it defensively and compare it to pre-World Cup, I can already see the defensive improvements.
Yeah.
Meslier has improved. Again, I love the fact that Meslier had 3 1-on-1s with Haaland against City, and he beat him all 3 times. Erling Haaland. Now, whether, again, people have said, no, it's playing on his mind, he's a Leeds supporter and all this here. It doesn't matter. He was still there to do a job. And he struggled to get past Meslier. And Meslier made some amazing saves against Newcastle. Amazing saves. Defensively as well, there was much better communication in our backline against Newcastle. Whenever players were being dragged out of position, I'll pick on Bill Ayling because I don't rate him anymore. He needs to go. But even Pascal, I'll go Pascal, who's one of my favourite defenders, and he has been for the last few years. Even when Pascal had lost the challenge or struggled to get the ball away, there was someone there straight away covering, whether it was Forshaw or Rocca or Adams. There was great communication between the defensive players and the midfield holding players who were put him back to help defend.
Yeah.
We knew it was going to be, you could tell the players knew this was going to be a fight against Newcastle.
Yeah.
And the fact to say we didn't play well, I think, is a discredit to the players. We stopped one of the currently top teams, most informed teams in this league from scoring past us. And that was, I can honestly say, by looking at it and watching it and going, right, well, that was obviously Jesse March wants to win. Every manager, every player does.
Yeah.
But he went into that game going, we can't afford to lose.
Yeah.
And we couldn't afford to lose, really. Getting a point away from home to Newcastle.
Yeah.
That's positive. And tomorrow, honestly, you look at the way West Ham's been playing compared to the way we've been playing, they have not been improving. There's nothing about West Ham right now. I swear if it bites me on the ass, someone's going to clip this up and make a fool out of me. But there is nothing about West Ham right now that makes me feel threatened of them coming to Ellen Road and causing us problems.
Yeah.
Our defence has improved. The last 2 games, I've seen improvements. Our issue is going to be finishing those chances created. Willie Nanto needs someone up there that will match his vision and his pace. Because Rodrigo's not doing it. Rodrigo doesn't have the work rate. Rodrigo's a poacher. And he has done well in those instances. And he's shown this season that he can finish and he can score. But I would much rather be seeing Joe Gelhardt or Somerville even starting up there to complement Nanto.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting that, when we have done that 4-3-3, it seems to be Aronson playing the false nine-ish role, and then Rodrigo's been out on the right. So if that's the case, you'd just say, well, bomb Rodrigo out and put Somerville there or put Nanto up one side. But I think the thing that's going to be interesting, people obviously, when they've been getting frustrated about the last couple of games, have spoken about the passing and we can't string 2 passes together. But I think you've got to introduce the stylistic options of the teams that we've been playing. When you are playing against Man City and you're playing against Newcastle, you are going to be pinned back. You are going to be dropping deep so that there are no options up there. That's why the passes have been breaking down, because the ball goes forward. There's no one for it to get flicked onto. If Rodrigo's getting an aerial ball pumped up to him, who's getting it? Who's getting it after that? because it's just going straight to their defence. Whereas I can't see West Ham pinning us back in our own stadium when they're on zero form themselves, properly out of confidence.
So we're getting absolutely slaughtered if they beat us tomorrow. I'm just saying,
I mean,
like, we're sitting here and like, in all honesty, our opinions are our opinions.
Of course.
But there's, as you said, like, I do not see anything threatening from West Ham tomorrow.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say I don't see them threatening. I just think that in terms of style and the reasons why people might have not been too happy with the two performances that we've just put back to back since we came back from the World Cup, not necessarily the results, but the performances themselves. If people want to say we can't string two passes together, and I've said it myself because I've been at the games, I've been annoyed at Mark Rocker for not being able to pass at all. But tomorrow he's not facing Man City in front of him where he's basically going to loop a ball 40 yards forward to fucking no one. It's not going to be that. So in terms of the style that we're coming up against compared to the last two games, with a new formation, with the players available, you've got to feel slightly more confident of having a game that's going to be at least worth watching. I'm going. Me and Ellie are going with Lad and Dad and Chris. Very much looking forward to it. But yeah, I'm hoping for, first of all, obviously an atmosphere. That's always the first thing that you want. But I'm hoping for a performance and to be able to leave Ellen Road feeling entertained. So yeah, in terms of what to expect, I think it's definitely going to be I don't want to predict it and ruin it, but it's got to be a more entertaining game and an easier game for a Leeds fan to watch than the last two have been, surely. Let's go with some predictions on the lineup then. Guys, if you're watching with us in the comments and you want to get involved, feel free to send your comments in. I'll try flash them up. But Scott, I'm going to do a back five. There's no point asking you for the keeper because we know who it is. But give me your goalkeeper and the back four in front of him, unless you're telling me it's going to be a back three, which I'll be surprised at.
No, I think it'll be the same back four. Much to my chagrin, I think Rasmus or Cody Drama should be starting over Billy Ealing.
Yeah.
But again, I think this is a match where Bill will be given the chance to go, right, look, if you want to be the number one right back, you need to go out and you need to do it against West Ham. Personally, I think it's a perfect game for Rasmus to show what he is capable of. But I think we'll still see it being the same. But then you look at, we signed Max Ferber, so with him playing with Rasmus previously, is Rasmus going to start to give that confidence boost to Max as well?
Well, Verber can't play tomorrow night.
Oh, no, he can't, but just to give him that sort
of... I mean, long term.
What I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. But I don't see any change really in the back line.
See,
you hold Newcastle to not scoring. It's hard to argue change in the back line.
Yeah, no, fair enough. So for me, I thought the reason that Ayling got minutes at Newcastle was more to do with the whole rotation and managing minutes that he's been talking about. And obviously he name dropped in the last press conference before the Newcastle game that Somerville and Harrison in particular had been rested against City intentionally because they were earmarked for minutes against Newcastle. So I kind of just assumed that Ayling was sort of getting minutes because of that. But I don't know if I remember rightly, Rasmus was hooked against City and Ayling was bought on, wasn't he? So
yeah,
maybe I don't know. I would be surprised if Ayling started again. I'd say Rasmus had probably come back in for me with the rest of the back four staying as it is, Koch, Cooper, and Pascal. But I think right back is probably the only slot in that defence that probably gets spoken about. But again, I could definitely see your shout of it was a clean sheet away at Newcastle. Why would you change the defence? So I think
I don't care what anyone says. Tomorrow night's a must-win for us.
Yeah,
you look at it's a 6-point game. It's a 6-point game.
It's a big game.
West Ham beat us; they go above us. If we win, we're only a point behind. Was it Villa, who we play next in the league?
It's a definite must not lose. I'll put it that way. But at the same time, I can see why people would go must win. I think you've got to follow up the last two games and performances with something that the fans can get behind. If that means,
especially at home.
Yeah, if that means a result and a performance, then great. But sometimes it's hard to tell what sections of the fan base would be happier with a performance or a result, really, isn't it?
All you have to be concerned about is your own opinion. And if you believe your own opinion, that then just hold you. Because everybody has got different opinions, and you just have to respect it. You don't have to give people abuse because your opinions differ. So
midfield, we're playing a 4-3-3 then, Scott. And who's your midfield? No. Oh.
Back to a 4-2-1-3. I suppose you could say it's a 4-3-3, but the way they'll be set up, I think it'll be a 4-2-1-3.
Okay, so who's your 2-1 then?
Like a mushroom.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I understand what you
mean. You're saying it's a penis.
It's triangle.
Yeah. So yeah, see the fact that there's Mike has just popped up there from TikTok. Mike, who's doing a brilliant job on our TikTok, by the way. Make sure you do subscribe or whatever, follow. I don't know how TikTok works. But they're Everton, Leicester, and Bournemouth all losing right now. Everton being absolutely duffed 4-0. A win tomorrow night is massive. But yes, I'm going with the 4-2-1-3, and in front of the defense, I see it being Adams and Rocca.
Yeah.
Rock is much better when Tyler Adams is there. Now, in saying that, I thought in the last two games, Adam Forshaw showed some decent ability at holding up the play and turning players. But people saying about Mark Rocca's passing's not been great. I don't think Adam Forshaw's passing was anything to bum and blow about against Newcastle. So I always find that Rocca has played much better with Adams on the field. So yeah, I think it would be going with that there.
And who's the one in front of them?
Aronson.
Yeah.
Because even the link-up play between him and Adams is great. And then he links everything up again with Nanto on the left, whoever's on the right and whoever's up top. He's great at going forward. He's got fantastic work rate at getting back too. You see him all over the pitch. He's like an American Sturdy Dallas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I have been
Dallas
thinking
American. Yeah, never mind.
I have been very good. I have thought over the last couple of games if someone looks like in terms of the managing minutes thing, if someone has played a lot of minutes, it looks like they need a bit of a rest and hasn't been delivering that much. And I'm being maybe a bit hypercritical, but I'd say if I was going to give anyone a rest based on the minutes thing, it would be Aronson for me. But yeah, I'd be intrigued to see if he seems to be Marsh's main man, doesn't he? He's going to start every game, going to play every minute. But he's played a lot of minutes this season. For me, the three in midfield. That being said, I would do what me and you said on the last show, which is I can't see him not starting Mark Rocca, as much as I'm not a big fan, and I don't think he deserves to start at the minute. But for me, that midfield three, if it's going to be Rocca, Adams, and one other, it should be Aronson in there with them, like it was against Arsenal. Yeah. I liked that three. And then obviously that gives you the conversation as to who is in the front three. And we spoke about Rodrigo, but there is a lot of options coming back in at the moment. Obviously having Sinisterra available would be ideal, but he's not. But Willie Gnonto's in ridiculous form. I didn't think Jack Harrison had a bad game against Newcastle, I'll be honest. I thought he was okay. But
he was very Jack Harrison.
Yeah, it was all right. But, I mean, Somerville obviously didn't score against Newcastle, but is still on a run of 4 goals in 5 games, so you can't say he's not still in good form. If you've got Gnonto and Somerville either side of whoever's playing in that 9 role, for me, I would rather see Brendan Aronson deeper. But like you said, Scott, and like we said on the last show, Joffrey needs more minutes one way or another. I think starting all 3 of those is a bit of an inexperienced front 3 in a game that we need something from. So I would see the argument for starting with Rodrigo, but if it's not working with Rodrigo at half-time or 60 minutes, give Joffrey at least half an hour. Don't give him,
don't give him 10 minutes.
Statutory 8 minutes at the end of the game where he can't affect anything. I mean, there was a question up here, and I'm about to ask you, Scott, for who your front 3 is anyway, but I'm going to let you sort of take the lead on this one in your answers. Someone here saying, Michael, with no traditional number 9, we play 2 up top. I mean, I'm not sure we do, but Would you say the three's all right?
The three's fine for the way we're playing. You know, it's not Mike Bassett Football Manager. Like, you know, it's not 4-4-2. There's very few teams I'm seeing at the minute playing with two up top.
No,
even for
really
a long time, Man City didn't play with like a recognised striker up top. You know, so this is, I think this is where the work rate comes down to, and this is where we're lacking from Rodrigo.
Yeah.
Is that work rate? Whereas Bamford has the work rate, he just couldn't finish a pasty supper. I don't know if you've had pasties in England. Fish supper. We'll say a fish supper. But I don't know about the two up top thing. Yeah. I don't think it works in this system. Again, dependent, because I think Jesse March has been known to do like a 4-2-2-2 type thing, hasn't he? Where he has had two up top and then two in the, almost like a 4-2-4. But spread out a bit. I just don't. I just don't think we have anyone that would work as a partnership. Maybe Joffrey and Greenwood.
Yeah, I mean,
they've done it in the 23s or 21s, whatever they are now.
I can see Michael's followed it up with it's the reason the ball keeps coming back. But I think I explained that bit earlier in terms of the stylistic thing. The reason the ball's been getting hoofed up and not coming to anything, just coming straight back, is because we've been sat so deep that there is no one up there with him. Realistically, tomorrow night, hopefully we're not going to be sat so deep at home to a side that are actually below us. We should be able to get the two wingers either side of him further up the pitch. So realistically, if that ball is going up aerially to Rodrigo and he is getting a flick on, it is Willy Gnonto or Somerville ideally in behind. So I don't think it necessarily does need to be a two up top. It just needs to be for the system to work, and for the system to work in an attacking sense, and for us to actually create chances. We need to be in a game where we're not sitting so desperately deep because we're shitting ourselves that we're going to get pumped, which unfortunately the last two games have been.
We need to finish our chances. The only way that it works
is to fucking create some chances.
Yeah, well, we haven't been. I think was it the first half of the season we had something like 50. Was it between Aronson and Harrison? Had something like 56 or 57 chances created between them. And we had one goal. Out of those chances created, we had one goal.
Doesn't shock me.
That's shocking.
Yeah.
You give that chances created for Arsenal, City, Newcastle, even Scum, and they're putting away at the very least half of them. At the very least. You know, so again, that goes to show that yes, Rodrigo has scored some goals, but we have a serious problem finishing in the final third. Yeah. It's not just defensive, and as I've said, those last two games have shown me improvement defensively. Tomorrow night we need to see improvement and going forward.
So, would you still start Rodrigo? Or would you start Joffrey? You love the kids, don't you? Sorry, I don't mean to say it that way, but you love
That's really dodgy. I'm a children's entertainer, mate. You can't say shit like that. Jesus Christ.
You love playing a young side in these kind of games. Believe in the youth.
Yeah, well, see, that's one thing that I love about. I keep saying it's one thing I love about Jesse is that he just reminds me a bit of O'Leary. You know, when O'Leary took over, it wasn't this big budget sign this. Give a lot of time of the day to the young guys, a lot of time of the day, and he was rewarded to an extent because obviously we didn't get any trophies and we ended up getting relegated after a couple of seasons, but it was exciting.
I do feel a little bit worried hearing the words David O'Leary when I know I'm going to Cardiff away on Sunday in the Cup, but you know.
I don't envy you at all. Cardiff away is not a fixture I would even enjoy. If we had won the Champions League and then we were drew in the third round of the friggin' League Cup to Cardiff away, nope, I'd be saying, give me Barcelona away, please. Yeah. It's just something about them. Just they always seem to turn up against us. But anyway, tomorrow, screw Cardiff, screw a cup. We need to focus on this for now. I say screw the cup.
Who's your
come the weekend, I'll be saying we want to go for a cup run. But tomorrow, I think the only change we'll see is Somerville starting instead of Harrison, hopefully.
Right.
I don't know how long I'll be, love. Just whenever I'm done, I'll not be long. Jeez. This is what I'm getting here. This is what I'm getting.
Get to bed.
15 minutes. 15
Get
minutes.
to bed.
Get to bed. Friend, where's the bread?
Right. Well, seeing as Scott is getting in trouble with the missus, I'm going to get everyone, guys, if
He's
you're
not in
watching.
trouble.
See, now she's slobbering.
He should be in trouble. Make
Well,
sure
he's
he is
not
in trouble.
He just needs to hurry up.
Right,
I've
you get him
stuff to
told.
do.
You get him told.
Go away. People
Guys,
sitting in a fancy studio and I'm in the kitchen.
Get your score predictions in and let's see what everyone fancies for tomorrow night. Scotty, you're the positive one here. There's going to be a range of predictions, but I'm going to get yours first. What do you think? I want goals as well. If you think there's goals, I want to know who scores.
Right. For me, listen, I don't want to jinx it because I tend to absolutely jinx it whenever I say we're going to trounce someone. I can see it being 3-0 tomorrow. I think we're going to see a level of consistency defensively. And I think I'm hopeful that we will see the quality that our attack can provide. And I'm going Willie Nanto, Aronson, and Somerville. No. I'm going Aronson, Somerville, and Cooper.
Okay. So, I mean, some of the comments as well that are coming in are all seemingly quite positive. We've had a lot of comments where people are worried, but at the same time, in the predictions, people are pretty much all apart from Robbie, who is clearly feeling the general Leeds fan dread at the moment.
So I love Robbie on this because his opinions are always consistent. He doesn't flip-flop. I like that. So, Robbie, keep your opinion coming, mucker.
He's just concerned. Like, really, all of us are in that mortal peril constantly as Leeds fans. So you vocalise it, Robbie. We're here to help try and make you feel better. And I'm hoping we've done that. And I'm hoping I can do a bit more of that. I'm weirdly enough, as one of the most negative people in the world, I don't feel too worried about going to Ellen Road and being genuinely disappointed tomorrow night. I think I'm hoping for a performance more than anything. I want to see a game where I enjoy watching the fucking football. But I think we should beat them. In all honesty, I'd be very, very surprised and very upset to leave Ellen Road with no points tomorrow night. A point at the absolute least. But I feel confident that we can win the game. I'm going to go. I'm even going to say another clean sheet, 2-0. Let's get goals again I want a Willie Nanto goal. I fancy a Willie Nanto goal. And fuck it, we'll have Firpo off the bench to get the second.
What?
No, I'm taking the piss. It'll be Rodrigo. Before we get Scott in any more trouble, I think
you know what? She's in my bad books. She can suck eggs.
Well, we'll leave it there anyway. Thank you very much for your time as always, Scott. Thank you everyone for watching with us. If you haven't already, of course, do the whole like and subscribe nonsense. And there's going to be plenty more content over the next 48 hours discussing this game. So if you're there, come say hello. We will be in the Cop Safe Standing tomorrow night. Get in. And Scott,
safe standing.
Been
standing for years.
Well, enjoy the game wherever you're watching, and
living room.
Hopefully, some
content
of that.
I'll be in Japan.
Oh, Scott, Jesus!
I have to be. I out here, Laura. Come here. No, you have to come here. Someone says
you don't want to. She don't want to come here. She wants to hurt you.
That's just what I'm trying to say. I want her to come over here now.
It's all right. Just feed it back,
if he actually sees her, he'll disagree. He'll say she's punching.
Fuck it out. Before you get yourself divorced, let's leave it. Thank you for joining us, guys, and I will hopefully see you all.
I know, here, look, see.
Look at the lovely jammies now.
Rough as a badger's arse.
Photos on the internet lie. He looks like Matthew Stevenson when over here.
No, he does. Oh my God. No, he does.
Yes, he does.
Right, go away. We're doing Leeds stuff.
No, we're not. I'm here on the show. Bye.